Hello and welcome to New Filmmakers Los Angeles. My name is Danny De Lillo. I am delighted to have a filmmaker who made a fantastic film in this disability. Hello, Bosco. How are you doing?
Hello, thank you so much for having me here again. And it's funny because the last time we were together, I mentioned disability. Last year when I was here with you guys to present Jamira, I mentioned this film that you have now at the festival, and I'm very happy to be here again with you guys.
Isn't that great? I love it. I love that you just took your action. But for those that haven't seen this fantastic documentary, let's take a look at a clip.
I lost my vision in the span of about 10 days to a disease called Fuchs corneal dystrophy. And unfortunately, I'm not able to get cornea transplants in any capacity, so it is what it is. I'll be dealing with this for the rest of my life. Losing your eyesight when you're in your 40s, crazy trip.
Bosco, listen, that's amazing. Isn't it amazing when you say, I'm working on this, and then you come back and here we are a year later and you've made this incredible film. This was one of, this documentary, uniquely got me in the heart in a way that I've never seen a documentary before. And I commend you for bringing this story to us. For those that haven't seen it, tell us a brief synopsis of disability.
So disability came up with a very weird idea I had, which was, would I be able to translate blindness to a visual medium such as film? So I had this crazy idea in my mind, and that idea kept bugging me, and and then I talked to one of my professors at Centennial College, Jeanette Lockman, and I told her about this idea I had about a film in which I would translate blindness into video, into pictures. And then we discussed a little bit about it, and my biggest concern was finding the right person for the film. Because I had a few ideas about translation. I use translation because what the spectators watch on the film is not actual blindness, is my personal translation, interpretation of what his disability is. So Jeanette Lockman introduced me to this amazing guy called Costantino Belzis, and I sat down with him for half an hour, and after half an hour, I knew I did not need to look any longer for a subject for my film, because I knew it was him. He is very outgoing. He's not shy in front of the camera. He talks openly about his disability, about his condition, and basically, what I did was he explained to me how he perceives the city around him. So basically, he described the way he interacts with people and the city. And then I translated his disability to film. He suffers from a condition called Fuchs corneal dystrophy. He had a perfect sight for most of his life, and then in a few weeks, he just lost it. So sometimes in a good day, he might have something like 5% of his sight. And he described me how he perceived the city. So he mentioned lots of, he can perceive differences in light and darkness. He can see shadows a little bit sometimes. Yeah. So it's all in the film. He mentions to me that most of his days, it's a lot of white. And then sometimes he can see a little bit of of outlines of people, but that's what I try to show to the audience with the film.
Well, your T-shirt is very fitting because you are a fantastic storyteller.
Thank you. This is actually from Centennial College, and I would also like to thank Centennial College because they provided all the equipment that we needed to shoot the film. So thank you, Centennial College. Yeah, so yeah, yeah. And we are all storytellers, yes, for sure.
No, you are a great storyteller, and I love how you told this story so much. Firstly, I felt that your subject was just he was just fascinating, and I really loved that he just really got down to the grit of how it makes him feel in such a powerful way. Was that part of the reason that when you really knew this was the person I want to film? Was that part of what excited you about him? What was about his character? What specifically drew to him?
Um, what made me choose Costantino was the fact that he is not camera shy at all, and he is very open. So he's gonna swear, he's gonna tell crazy jokes, and what you see on the documentary is who he really is. So the way that I built this documentary around his persona was in a very organic way. So some people may think that documentaries are all organic, but most of the time they're very scripted. You have a script, you have a shot list, you have to shoot this, 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 and then you have a schedule, you go there and you shoot it. On this documentary, I did the opposite. It was very, very organic. I have a very, very loose script. I had a very, very loose shot list. What I did was basically, I just followed Costantino around the city and I recorded his interactions with people around him. And I would, here and there, ask a few questions so he could reflect about his life and his disability. And basically, in terms of pre-production, what I did was he mentioned to me where he was planning to go on those days that we were going to shoot, and I made sure to get in touch with each one of them to get permits to shoot. But besides that, almost everything in the documentary was completely unscripted. It was completely organic and natural. When we had stuff that we captured on camera that we could never plan. For example, one of my favorite shots is the moment that he's talking about his favorite color, which is orange, and then out of the blue, a poodle walks by without a leash, and then his guide dog, Abide, goes crazy, and then he starts fighting with the dog owner. You cannot predict and you cannot plan stuff like that. You're lucky to be recording that kind of interaction. And also later in the film, there's another scene that I really, really love, which is I think they're buying fish. And Costantino gets so relaxed that he kind of lets he let the leash go, and then Abide, his guide dog, start licking samples in the store. Because his guide dog is not like the 100% perfect guide dog. She has a personality, and that kind of stuff you cannot plan. It happens, and then you're very lucky to be recording that kind of stuff.
Oh, it's brilliant. Honestly, there were so many magic moments, and like you said, it was actually really nice to have this beautiful, guide dog who just had a real heart and soul. You could really feel it as well as doing its job. It felt very real and organic. One of the things that I love about your vision, Bosco, and the way that you shot this was the way that you shot it. I couldn't believe how the way that you shot it was really making me feel a certain way, and almost understanding from his perspective. Tell us a bit more about that journey, because I know you had some really wonderful thoughts and intentions in how you actually filming the film.
The project was, as I mentioned before, was built from this concept of translating a disability, a visual disability, to a visual medium. So I used a few camera effects and camera, how would I put it, language to translate his blindness to film. So one of the things that I decided on day one of pre-production, no wide shots. No wide shots. I want to isolate the audience. The audience won't be able to see anything around Constantino. There are only two things that are like completely sharp and focused on the film. The two things are Constantino and his guide dog. Everything else is out of focus, is overexposed. You cannot really tell where he is unless he mentions to you where he is. So I played a lot with sounds, sound effects, music, textures on the ground, on the walls, and that was the way that I translated his disability to film.
It was so powerful the way you did it, Bosco. It really was powerful. And I think the good thing about this is that what I loved is, aside from, you could have just told us a story, but you really wanted us to help understand as if we were in his shoes and experiencing what he sees and visualizes. And I think that's such an important thing for people to be able to really empathize and really dig deeper into what is it like. Which brings me to ask the question, what did you want? Because I love your vision, and I love the way you're always making creating stories about very important things that don't get enough attention. But what did you kind of want your audience to take from this film? What were you hoping for or looking for exactly?
I think one of my goals with this film was to attract attention to a current problem in the big cities, because most of them are not adapted to people with disabilities. And Constantino mentions that a lot in his film. Through his voice, through his personality, which is a very unique personality. He's very funny, he's outgoing, he swears, he jokes. I thought it was a funny and interesting way to get people's attention to this problem that we have. Our cities are not ready for disabled people with disabilities. And I think that the feedback that I received so far from from people who watched it was very good. People maybe had no idea how blind people would walk around the city, how they would do their errands on a daily basis. And the film kind of narrows the gap between people who see and people who don't see, and they kind of understand better blindness and not being able to see properly and not knowing what's going on around you from a visual perspective. So using other senses, like hearing is probably one of the most important senses for someone who's blind, and this is also on the film. So basically, my main goal was get people's attention to this current problem, not only here in Toronto, but in most of the major cities of the world. They're not prepared to people with disabilities.
I love that you did that. I mean, such an advocate as a filmmaker, and I love that you shone light on this. I really do, because it is very important. It's films like this can help things change if it gets in the right hands of the right people, and help people educate and understand what one goes through. Having now made this film after you said that you would, and having this film celebrated at film festivals, we certainly loved it having a New Filmmakers LA. What's it been like to share it with your audience, and how's that experience been like for you thus far?
Oh, it's been amazing. All the exposure that New Filmmakers Los Angeles gives you by screening your film is amazing. For example, with my film, Jamira, after it was screened at New Filmmakers Los Angeles at the Academy of Motion Pictures last year, my inbox email account went crazy. I got many emails from several other festivals, people interested in a film, and it's great. It's great. and having a film picked and screened in such an amazing festival, it's a huge honor for me and also for everybody who was part of this production. Constantino is really happy with this as well. My producer, Mauro de Souza, went crazy when I told him about it. And I'm really happy that, like, twice I got to screen 2 films at NewFilmmakers Los Angeles, one in 2019 and one now. It's been amazing. Maybe next year I'll have another one for you guys.
Yeah, that's the goal, right? We need one every year. I like that. Good challenge. No, it's really fantastic. It's amazing. Now, you know, this is obviously a very different film that you made and created. What would you kind of say making this film? What's your kind of biggest challenge? Like anything in like pre-production, during making the film, or post-production? What was the biggest challenge in making this particular one?
I think the biggest challenge was not having a script. With Argemira, my previous film, everything was very, very planned, and I had a schedule. I arrived in Brazil and I had a week to shoot it, and everything was very well planned. The story was already written, all the questions were written, all the shot lists were there. When I started shooting Argemira, I already knew the film I would have by the end of filming. When I started shooting Disability, I had no idea what kind of film I would have. It would all depend on the interactions I would record. It would depend on Constantino's mood on the days we would shoot. Maybe he was not in the mood of talking, because, you know, it might happen. So it was basically, let's shoot and let's see. I had this idea, a very crazy idea, and let's see if it works. And I was lucky.
You are. No, I love it. And I think there's something very special about the title of the film as well. I think it's very special. You can't help but think it and want to say it over again, and seeing that. And have you kind of noticed that it's quite a unique title of film, and kind of, you know, looking at it from a different perspective? How's that response been? Because I'm just curious.
Actually, I stole the title from Constantino.
Oh no, I think it's great that that's great that he went that.
Yeah. The first time I got in touch with him was through an email, and he doesn't write disability with a D. He always writes disability with THIS dash ability. This ability, because he has an ability. I think he turned it around, you know what I mean? So it really caught my attention. And when we wrapped and we were editing the film, I got in touch with him and I was like, do you mind if I used this ability thing you always write on your emails and when you're texting, instead of using disability with a D? And he was like, yeah, go for it. It's a film about me, so go ahead and use it. And
I think that's special. I think that's really special, and I love that he describes it that, and that's from him. It's very special, because I think that a lot of people, you know, who have to overcome certain things in their life, you know, really have incredible abilities to navigate through life, overcoming situations or things that have happened, you know. I mean, like, for example, like him, he didn't have his until he's in his 40s. So, you know, he's had to adapt, you know, and it's an ability to adapt, you know, to your circumstances or your new circumstances, because none of us know what could happen. So I really think that's a powerful title. And I hope that many people that do have, as they describe, disabilities, that see how positive and how great they are for getting through, navigating through life, and overcoming their circumstances or situation, and using that as a power horse, as part of their you know, their nature. And I just think, I love that he described himself as that. So that's very powerful.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, no, I want to ask you, what is next for you? Now, you do know, if we do say what is next, then I do expect to interview you in a year. So what is next? What's going on?
I have been working very hard. on shooting, filming, and directing my first feature film. I don't know when that's gonna happen, because, you know, shooting a short film is completely different from shooting a feature, money-wise, you know what I mean. So it is my goal. I don't know if it's something that will happen like in a couple of years or maybe more, but that is definitely my career goal. But it's coming at some point.
Do you have a genre yet, or a type of film that you want to make and create?
Yeah. One of them is a very drama-focused film. Actually, both of them are very dramatic, but one of them has a touch of sci-fi. But yeah, I don't like to go on something. I don't like to shoot something that's obvious. I don't like stories that are obvious. I like trying different things. I like challenging myself to do things differently, or things that have not been done yet. Disability was one.
That's why we love your work.
Yeah, disability was one example of that. I challenged myself to translate blindness to film, and they're both going in that direction, like challenging myself and trying new things.
Well, I always love talking with you. I always think you have such great value to, you know, encourage others out there. So again, I'm gonna, you know, a year on, you know, what's kind of the top of your experience and advice that you can share with filmmakers, and particularly for you who does challenge themselves. Is anyone, you know, if this goes out to anyone saying, I really want to make this project, but it feels like a challenge, what advice have you got, or you can maybe share with those filmmakers?
An amazing thing about our times is that media is this huge democratic field in which anyone can shoot whatever they want. I think we have evolved to a moment in which, with a very little budget, you can tell relevant stories, and you can make sure that people hear your voice. I have seen amazing films shot on cell phones, and people have the ability to tell stories with very little money, with very little gear, and still be heard. So if you have a good story, go ahead and tell it.
Yeah, I love it. Well, listen, keep making more stories for us. We need you. We appreciate you, and thank you for bringing this ability to us, and
Thank you.
It's a pleasure. And yeah, we can't wait to see more of your work, and congrats on the feature. It's coming. We're looking forward to it.
Thank you so much. And I'd like to thank again Centennial College. Thank you so much, Centennial College, for all the equipment and all the support that you offered. And also my producer, Mauro Souza, thank you so much. And also Costantino, thank you for being so open about your disability, and being so kind to all the guys at the team. Thank you so much, and thank you, NewFilmmakers Los Angeles, again, for picking one of my films to be screened. Thank you.